welcome to the Where Away podcast. My name is Summer.
Hey, Mark here.
This is Denise.
And today we're doing some introductions just so you guys can get to know the W.I.N team. I'm Summer. I'm a marketing major. I've been at A&M since 2021 and I'm graduating in May. I was born here in Killeen and I'm a big fan of Pathfinder. I'm a huge fan of our mascot and that's just an interesting fact about me.
Hey, my name's Mark. I'm actually a computer science major, but I'm really interested in communications, podcasting, video editing, which is why I'm part of the W.I.N team. And I really enjoy the school gym here, and I've been here for about maybe 5 years now. Been doing classes a little slower, but I've had a pretty good time here at TAM UCT. There are clearly people who like to innovate and expand, so I've really enjoyed this campus.
And I am Denise. I'm very glad you've been here as long as I have. And I am completing in the summer my master's in science of accounting. And I have been here for about almost 6 years. I actually started in the fall of 2019, but as it would go for me, I had to level several classes. So I actually did a bachelor's degree, almost an entire one, before I started my master's. But I have, the one thing I enjoy about WCT is that we are a school that's local.
Absolutely.
And where you can come to and enjoy. That's the one I really like.
I like that it's local too, because like I said, I was born here in Killeen, so having a university right here in town, don't have to move.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's great.
Absolutely.
And we're here also to talk about our challenges, the holiday season. You know, finals coming up. We all have challenges as students. And my challenge is distractions. I am always distracted. I feel like there's always, especially with bigger universities here, it's a little bit better. There's less distractions. There's less things to get in the way. But, you know, as students, there's always going to be friends. There's always going to be family. There's always going to be other distractions. So I feel like that has been my biggest challenge, and just learning to stay focused on classwork. Because getting your bachelor's degree is supposed to take about 4 years. Like, who's taking 4 years? Not me. But but it's supposed to take about 4 years, and that's a long time, especially when you're young. You're like, oh, that's going to take forever. So it's easy to let other things get in the way, easy to get those distractions in your head and think like, well, you know, it's 4 years, or, oh, I'm only taking one class. Well, I still have time to do my homework on Sunday night. Like, you know, those distractions get in the way. So that has been my biggest challenge, I feel like.
That's interesting that you say that. Mark, I'm interested. What's one thing that distracts you?
Definitely falling victim to what I call edutainment. Like, you look up stuff that's it's technically important information you're learning, but it's still not what you're supposed to be doing right
That's
now.
so real. That's so real.
Yeah.
You're like, I am learning something, but it has nothing to do with this course.
Yeah, I'm learning, but this isn't my homework. I should be doing my homework.
I definitely agree with that.
I call those wild goose chases.
You go down the rabbit hole, you're like, I just want to learn about this today. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my distraction is definitely not doing what I'm supposed to do at that time.
Yeah.
I can find so many other things. It's funny, my office in my home, I had originally set my desk in front of the window, and I remember looking up one day and seeing a squirrel. And that was the story of my life. Squirrel. If I walked out of my office to go to the restroom, it was a wrap. Because I was in the kitchen, I was in the bedroom, I was bothering my husband.
Right, there's someone to talk to. Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah, there's always something else to do.
Absolutely, that's why I've made my home in the library here. So that I can get things done.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Do you guys have any challenges other than distraction?
Definitely the biggest one for the longest time has been procrastination. I've been getting better at it. I already talked about edutainment, but one big thing that I think has helped me a lot with procrastination is I've noticed it's a lot harder to pull away from entertainment once you start it. So let's say you do a little bit of work, then you want to play video games, watch Netflix, do whatever. When you start that, it's really hard to just put it down and then go do like an essay or something, because you're putting down something fun for something that takes a lot more work. So I learned that it's way better to try to just grind out all the hard stuff in the morning. And for your mindset, you can tell yourself, I'm working hard now so I can have guilt-free fun later.
I like that.
That is good.
It feels good to just have fun doing whatever when you know you worked hard. You got it
I
done
get
today.
everything. Everything's good.
Yeah.
You don't have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
I feel that.
The challenge for me has been online learning. What I didn't share in my intro is that I'm a non-traditional student. Old enough to be y'all's auntie. Okay, so and that was very interesting to me because one of the reasons I chose Texas A&M was to be in person and to get that feel, what I missed in y'all's days.
Right.
What I missed. And so that when we transitioned to online mostly after COVID, that was a challenge.
I completely
And
agree.
imagine that and during the holidays. So, most of the time I'm home. If I'm not camping out in the library, I'm home. And then there's, okay, I need to cook this and this and this. Oh, y'all want me to cook this year? Okay.
I'm a student.
Okay. I got homework. I'm gonna do it. Wanting to, please them, but I still have the online presence. Whereas in my head, when I'm in classroom, I get to leave the house
Yeah.
and not have to struggle with whether or not I'm going to let them distract me at that time. And that's been my challenge. Now I've overcome it in several ways, but that was initially my challenge, is having to do classes online because my preference is in classroom and to be able to interact. And I guess we can blame that on the military, because on the military, everybody's right there together.
Right.
You didn't do, there was online what? We were all, right there,
Right.
day and night. And so that became my preference of being, around people day and night. So that was my challenge, but I've learned to deal with it. I like coming to the library.
Yeah.
Hanging out in the
And there's
library.
a good, support system on campus. Like if you come on campus, even if you take online classes, like come to the rec center, come do something on campus. Like there's lots of stuff. There's events. Like the library is always having pizza. Come to the campus.
And one of the things that I love dearly now is the the revamping of what Student Affairs has done. Like now the Writing Center is so much more welcoming. So
Right,
more
come to the
inviting.
Learning Center, guys.
And then the Learning Center, you're right. And then even Success Commons, it just gives you like, okay, it's a home field with a chill away from home. Is how I
a
see
good
it.
third place, for you to exist.
Absolutely. And then of course the library, you can have your own study room or you can be in the open. So that's how I've been able to overcome, is by coming to campus as much as possible.
Yeah, I guess that is a good time management skill. If you at home, there's too many responsibilities, leave home, go to Starbucks. But really, you should come to campus.
Yeah, plus I've heard that environment is a big part of mindset, and it's really easy to feel maybe more stressed or more comfortable depending on how things are at home. And then your mind more easily deviates from the work because you're used to like thinking a certain way or feeling a certain way. So going to school or anywhere else can just be a way to like completely eliminate any original or any of those like thoughts or distractions that you would usually have just from being in your more normal environment.
Yeah, it changes your mindset. You're like, now I'm in school mode. I'm here to work.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because when I'm home, and the second one of the grandchildren cry or holler or something happens, I'm opening the door and out the door. What's wrong? What happened? So, yeah,
That takes you out of it. You're not in school mode anymore. You're trying to do a balancing act between the two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More like I'm juggling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk about some study tips because I'm sure you guys have struggles at home. I'm sure you guys are struggling for the holiday season. I have all types of challenges. So we're going to talk about our study tips that we have. And there's lots of other study tips in the planner. There's a great planner that has been provided by the Warrior Center. And
Oh my gosh, it is so awesome. So not only is the student planner, it gives you a place to write out your classes, your homework, and that and so forth, but it also gives you a place to manage your time. You put everything in there and it manages for you. It even shows you how you can plan your time. There are resources in there. All the resources that we have on campus, they're in there. And it's just a wonderful thing. I love it because we're talking about focusing during the holidays, right? So it actually focuses your attention on what you have to do for school. And how I came across it is I was planning my school and life in my life planner, and one of the student success people came over and she was like, oh, they got one. I got something for you. Let me go get it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And in the back of it, it has community resources as well. And that right there is very important. Why? Because, sometimes we come across things where we need to talk to someone and campus isn't open. Or sometimes we come across things where we have an insecurity in an area and campus isn't open. Mm-hmm. So there's resources in the back of there, along with, there's even several self-care pages in there where you can write. You can just take time and write. So I love it. And the most beautiful thing is it's undated. And it's got at least 3 semesters worth of pages for you to plan out your semester. So it's awesome. Y'all need to come by and get it. Come by Success Commons. Let them know you want a student planner and they'll get you hooked up.
Well, my study tips that I want to share with you guys is to study when you're most alert. I am a night person. I'm not a morning person of any kind, so I prefer to study at night. Even though it is good to get everything out the way, if you know your mind is not going to focus during the day, don't try to force yourself to do something you know that you're not going to do. If you're better at night, don't wait till that night that is due, but do it at night, do it a night, and get it done. I think that's important, to know yourself, know when you're most alert, and work with your natural system, your natural cycle. And the second tip is to take regular breaks, because I get distracted a lot. If you're sitting down for 2 hours straight trying to study something, no, you're not going to sit down for 2 hours straight. You're going to get hungry. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Oh, there's a magazine in the bathroom. Let me read that magazine. You're going to get distracted. So go ahead and study for 45 minutes, take a 15-minute break. Mm-hmm. Study for 45 minutes. Those breaks are so important for your concentration and your focus to help you stay on task if you get distracted like me. So, yeah.
I've actually heard that the most productive people actually do work for 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, and then they take a 12 to 15 break, because eventually you get to that point where you feel like you're still working hard, but your brain it keeps going out more and more and more into La La Land. It's getting a little harder.
That focus is gone. Yeah. In that 2 hour point, you're what am I reading? You're reading the same thing over and over again. You're like, okay, well, I'm not retaining anything, so I might as well close this up for the rest of the day.
Where were you guys so many years ago? Because I would study for so long, or read or whatever for so long. And there was one night where the words turned into ants. I was like, okay, I think I'm done. Whereas had I broken it up, I would have had more energy as I went along. So that's good. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gone to those points where you look at something for so long that the words, you've seen this word 100 times, but you've looked at it for so long it doesn't even look like English anymore for some reason.
It's scribbled on the page.
Yeah, I actually have quite a few study tips to share. One of them being, it sounds dumb and weird, but it's oddly effective. The strategy is to literally just stare at a dot. So your focus does tend to naturally be a little more out there, seeing your whole environment. But when you're studying, it actually helps to have your vision more focused. So it's more focused on the sentences, the pictures, and all that. And if you make yourself stare at a dot, it can be hard. You'll feel your eyes get blurry, teary, and then if you keep making yourself do it, at first you might only be able to do it for 6 seconds, but then I feel like whenever I build up to 10, 11, 12 seconds, I actually do get a little more focused, and I'm able to do my work more efficiently without getting like super antsy, feeling like I need to jump out the chair. It really does help with focusing. It's a really weird tip, but it does work.
I'm gonna try it because I have such a hard time focusing. I think it would help my concentration. I completely understand why it would too, because if you're looking and you're telling yourself to lock in while you're looking at that dot, it's gonna be easier for you to lock in on those words. So,
the point of it is basically to just make your vision go from like that focus on everything to like more pinpoint laser focus. Another study tip is the use of flashcards and spaced repetition. Flashcards are really good because instead of just reading something over and over again, maybe you have like questions and stuff and you actually have to think, and whenever you have to think more, no matter what strategy you use, the more you think, the more you actually learn from what you're doing. And active recall basically means like if you had physical note cards, you do one card, you're like, okay, this is too easy, I know this. You put this in one pile. The ones that are really hard and it comes to you, but it takes too long for it to come to you, that will go in a different pile. The ones you got, you don't do those again. You keep going through the ones that you had a hard time with, so you're forced to focus on what you actually have a harder time with, which helps you learn what you're struggling with instead of repeating information that you already know to begin with. And there's actually this study software called Anki. I believe it costs money on iOS, mobile, but it's free for the computer. It basically you can make your flashcards on there, and it does spaced repetition for you, where you just click the space bar, look at the answer, you say it's easy, hard, medium, and then it knows how often to give you the flashcard again based on how hard of a time you had with it. I definitely recommend everybody looking at Anki.
Think Smart Book from McGraw-Hill. If you've taken any courses with McGraw-Hill, it's kind of like that. So that's very, very helpful. I think it would be good for a lot of students.
Yeah. And then also, instead of a study tip, these are more people to go to for tips. My favorite study YouTubers are, they were originally called Cajun Koi Academy. Now they're called Koi, just Koi, K-O-I. And they do study tips for like procrastination, study styles, study methods, and they even have a quiz on there. I love their quiz. You answer a bunch of questions, and then at the end, it helps you understand like your study type, your mental type, your personality type.
Like your learning style and stuff.
And then that actually helps you figure out if you're more of a grinder or a jumper between topics, or maybe if you're better at studying in the morning or at night. Because, some people really do have a better time focusing at certain hours of the day. And then there's also Ali Abdaal. He's like the big study / anti-procrastination person. He has a lot of good videos on there, and he actually has a masterclass he posted for free on how to use Anki. So I definitely think he's worth checking out as well.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to check out all the study YouTubers over this Thanksgiving break.
Well, for me, my study tip is something I have struggled with for a long time, is time management. There's different ways to approach it. There's different ways to attack it. And it definitely depends on how you learn and how you deal on a normal basis. It definitely encompasses that. But when you think of time management, I want you to think of placing everything where it goes initially. Placing everything where it goes initially. That's why the planner is so good, because it gives you blocks to put things in, and it's undated. That's like the awesome part about it. But that's the part of organizing. One of the time management tips is organizing, putting things where they go, like a planner or another time, a time table tool, anything where you can put time in. I know I use my phone's calendar a lot for some things. Once I put it on paper, I put it, electronically. So I always have it. And then there's focusing on what you're doing at that moment, which is why I leave the house. Yes. Focusing on what you're doing at that moment. For instance, if I said I'm going to, for instance, we work. So if you're going to be at work from 9 to 5, that's what's in those slots. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. Honest day's work for honest day's pay, right? So you're working, and then the next slot, let's say the 6 to 7 slot, is for preparing food. That doesn't mean laundry. You put food in there. That's what you said.
No multitasking.
Yeah.
You said you put food in there. And then for the next time slot, whatever you have in that time slot, that's what you focus on doing. The multitasking, now some people are awesome multitaskers. That's not my story. So I have to, because when I multitask, I actually leave tasks off. Starting and
you get less done.
I do.
Yeah.
I started and I've looked at it, I've touched it, but hadn't done anything with it because I'm multitasking. But if you focus on what's in that slot at that time, and when the time is up, you have to move on. It's interesting. You mentioned, why do I want to go from something that's fun, for this time period, and then got to go to do something that's not so fun. But if you set that time, I'm going to do video games until 5. At 5:15, I'm going to start XYZ. At 5, it needs to go off.
Yeah.
As my son plays video games, and was it mid-challenge? 5 o'clock hits, it's got to go off because you've got to move to the next thing. So it's important to do that. That will not only keep you focused, but it will keep you on time.
Disciplined.
There we go. So if you have an idea to stop everything you're doing at, let's say, 9:45, so you can prepare yourself for the next day and go to sleep, you know that you've stopped each place. And make markers. That's another thing. Make markers where you stop. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, if possible, set a day for each subject. Now, we're talking about school and we're talking about holidays. What I do is the day before I have a class, if it's in person or online that we meet, the day before, I set aside that day to work on that homework. And if the week allows, I'll choose another day later in the week, or perhaps earlier in the week, to set aside days for that subject. And then when you're taking multiple subjects, someone was taking 4 classes, bless your heart. But it can be done. Set aside days to accomplish those things, and make sure, like Summer said, not the day that it's due, but set aside days for each of your subjects, so you can just focus on that. That has played a really big part for me in accomplishing my assignments before the due dates. On a lot of occasions, there's that occasional distraction, but that's how I've managed to move forward. And the last thing is to learn that no is a complete sentence. We're talking about time management. Everything is vying for your attention and your time.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah.
Learn that no is a complete sentence.
Saying no is so important. Set boundaries. Respect your own time, because who's going to respect your time if you don't respect your time? So respect your time.
Yeah,
it's very important.
What Denise talked about actually reminded me about 2 really important things that I'm just remembering. One is like how Denise was talking about time blocking. I have this little physical timer thing. It's one of those where you can turn it, and then it takes, and then it beeps at the end. I always feel like being on the clock really helps get your mind into motion for just focusing on what you need to focus on, because you only have so much time, and you're not worrying about, I should do this for this much time, but I got this. No, you have the timer set. Focus on nothing but the thing. But and then also attention residue. That's from a book by Cal Newport that I learned about. Attention residue it has to do with multitasking, where when you jump from one thing to the other and then back and forth, your brain isn't fully adjusted from the thing that you came from, which basically means if you're studying math, then you jump to learning to draw. Your mind is still on learning music, and it takes a little while to fully adjust. And if you're going back and forth, you're constantly dealing with attention residue, so you're not able to give it your all to whatever you're doing. So that's something important to keep in mind as well.
That might explain why it's hard to get started in the next thing.
That transition can be a little bit hard. That makes sense.
Yeah, that attention residue.
That makes sense. Well, I think that's all we have for you guys today. We hope you guys have a happy holidays and you guys tune in next time to learn the warrior way. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We covered a lot. Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a good one, y'all.